So I had interviewed DMX's ex-wife, and she said, "You said the ex was really verbally abusive towards you."
Yeah, he was. You know what? But it came like with the more of his drug use in this industry. Before, because we were together 10 years before he got into the industry, and he wasn't perfect. The biggest problems I had with him then was him robbing and stuff, and I think he talks about that in Slippin'. You know, he shows how he used to be doing his thing, and you know, but when he got into this industry, I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how he just changed from the drug use to being, I guess, just angry because, you know, when you're on those drugs, when you calm down, you're angry at yourself, so you tend to take it out on the people that's most close to you, and sad, I got used to that.
How did you guys really connect, and how did you really approach where DMX was at?
Well, you know, dealing with DMX, we was dealing with the street life anyway, so robberies, drugs, people with habits, addicts. We dealt with that like it was nothing because we was raised into that environment on some level. So it wasn't nothing new for us to deal with a person that had criminal activity. We was pretty cool with dealing with that. That was right up our alley. After we seen Heavy D and Puffy get out of the streets, you know, see them jumping, you know, on TV, I'm like, well, shit, we can get up out of here. This ain't nothing. So DMX was really, he was out there running the streets, robbing and stealing, doing all the things that he would normally do. And my man Tiny hooked me up with him. And then once he got with us, we pretty much speak the same language. He run across a lot of different people that promised him stuff but didn't keep their word. And we just was consistent with our word, and X became family after we started working with him. So now his health was a concern to us. He wasn't just an artist, he became family. Well, that's how we do it. And then we just had him with us, and we've been together with him ever since. So dealing with crime and him doing all that stuff, we had to negotiate situations where he get in situations and we had to neutralize the beef or whatever. Because we dealt with beef and we dealt with the streets, so that was really nothing for us. So, you know, it was what it was. X was easy to, it wasn't easy. It wasn't an easy ride. I stayed out I had 24-hour shifts on DMX. You know, we went out, you know, anybody he dealt with, we addressed, you know, told him what it was. Basically, if you're going, you know, you're going to harm him or make sure that he's doing something he ain't supposed to be doing, we're going to have to pay you a visit. We're going to have to deal with you accordingly. So that situation happened a lot. And DMX even told me, he was like, everywhere I went, the guys didn't want to, you know, mess with me like that. You know, I do my robberies, this and this, and we always end up there support, you know, making sure that he was covered. So, you know, we just really knee deep in the community. That's basically it.
Yeah. And I mean, DMX is one of these talents that you only really see once in a lifetime. I mean, what was it about DMX initially that made you go like, okay, I'm really going to put my neck on the line for this guy. Not only am I going to sign him as an artist, but I'm going to literally put my safety at risk to make sure that this guy's okay.
Well, really, what X was, X is a true artist. He's got true talent. You know, he's a great brother. He's a good brother, minus all the negative stuff that you hear about him or things that he do. His heart is genuine. You know, he tries to do the right thing, but he get caught up in doing wrong, as we all do on some level. But I always accepted X as a brother. You know, so it wasn't just about the music. Now it became more about him being him as our brother, as well as us trying to get out of these streets and him get out of these streets and get on. So that was very important for us because we was throwing bricks at the penitentiary. Right now, we probably would have been doing life in prison if we wasn't blessed to be able to have this opportunity to work with X and, you know, have great artists like X, Eve, Lox, and Swizz Beatz and all of them that we help put on and we help each other. So it was, you know, it was more so, you know, God gave us the opportunity. We gave ourselves the opportunity to keep faith in what we was working with X, you know, and just working together in our vision and our dream, and not giving up 12 years later, because it took us 12 years to get on. So let's be clear. You know, I started Swizz Beatz as a producer. I started Irv Gotti as a producer. I started Dame Grease as a producer, and PK, P Killer as a producer. These are all producers under Ruff Ryders. I met Irv Gotti through Chad Elliott. Chad Elliott did Jodeci album and so on and so forth. Puffy put me with Chad Elliott, right? Chad Elliott had a producer, a DJ by the name of Irv Gotti that I met in the studio downtown in Manhattan, and he needed the opportunity to be able to start making beats. So I bought him his first drum machine and signed him under Ruff Ryders production. And I had about 2 or 3 more producers and a couple of more artists that I was working with. The Locks, we had the Locks. I also had the Locks. DMX bought me the Locks. So that was pretty cool. Took a year for me to get the Locks to get to the table, because X said, I'm the hottest. I don't know why we need any more people to work with, you know. I'm better than everybody, so why should you get more artists? I said, we need to make sure it's not a one-man band show. We need as many hot people around us as possible. So we had Harlem Nights, we had the Locks, we had DMX, you know, we had God Original, Win, you know, we had a lot of Abe, and we had a lot of, you know, artists. We did a lot of stuff at Jack the Rapper. We went to Jack the Rapper. We met Tretch and them there, and that was in Atlanta. We did that. We did a lot of shows. So I did a lot of grassroots work with the artists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, originally, DMX was signed to Rough House.
Originally, DMX was signed to Ruff Ryders, and we got a single deal with Ruff House, and the song was called Born Loser. Chad Elliott produced the song. That was at the time where Wyclef and them was on Ruff House, was Chris Swartz and the boys. You remember Chris Swartz?
Yeah.
Chris Swartz was from Ruff House, Columbia. So we did a deal with Chris Swartz. Basically, we got a single deal over there for the Born Loser. We had a 9-month window over there with that to see if we could break the single. Then we'll get an option to get a major deal. So that whole thing, you know, it went well, but it didn't go perfect. So that was like our first time, you know, experimenting into that field. We got a budget. They gave us a budget for it. We invested the money on some level to the studio. That's how we built the studio on a lot of levels. And so we did a deal with Ruff Ryders / Ruff House with DMX, Born Loser. So that's how that went.
Okay, so you had the single deal at Ruff House. It went okay, but it didn't do what he really ended up doing. So how did that turn into the Def Jam deal?
So the Def Jam deal, that was years later. So basically, as you know, when we came into the game, before we came into the game, you had Death Row and you had Bad Boys that had the airwaves on lock. They was doing their thing. We was still working underground, doing our thing. And we really got our first break through once, you know, God, you know, rest in peace with Biggie and Pac. When that whole thing happened, you know, we had it was a void in the game with hip hop, and nobody really knew who was going to be the next to take the torch and really bring hip hop back to where, you know, make it hot again. And we was already in the game working for 12 years in the game, trying to, you know, get in. And then we got the opportunity with a call from Irv Gotti, because Irv was working with us with DMX, And, you know, we had a code where, you know, whoever get in first or, you know, come back and help the next brother or sister, you know, help us, you know, come back and, you know, get on point. So basically Irv Gotti was working with Russell and Lyor Cohen in Def Jam. So he gave Lyor Cohen and let them know that he became an A&R or something over there in Def Jam, and he said he had the illest nigga out. The illest nigga out was DMX that we had. That was our artist. So Lyor, you know, he told Lyor, I don't care what you do, you need to come to the studio in Yonkers and listen to this artist. So Lyor showed up and came to the meeting, came to the studio. We played some hot joints on DMX. He was sitting there. He was like, yeah, it's nice, but where is he? So he was sitting right there. He was behind the board just chilling. And then he came out. And then he started spitting. He started spitting for Lyor. Lyor was like feeling him and all that. And then, long story short, you know, Lyor was like, you know, he was like, we told Lyor, it was like, yo, the way he's rhyming with his jaw wired, but you couldn't tell because of the hunger that he had with his lyrics and how he was handling while he was spitting, that Lyor didn't even notice that his jaw was wired completely, because he had got in a fight a couple of weeks ago and his jaw got broke and a couple of ribs.
Met the dog and, you know, his mouth was wired shut and shit. He had, I guess, he had, I don't know, he had got to a fight or somebody said he got jumped or some shit like that prior to it, and his mouth was wired up. And he was rhyming with the fucking wires in his mouth, like crazy shit, like the shit about to pop and break, and I was like, okay, you know what I'm saying? I like this dude, you know what I'm saying? Like I could fuck with him.
So at the end of the day, he had just came straight out of the hospital to get with, to come to that meeting, pretty much. And then he was spitting like he was me and you talking about it with hunger and crazy. So when Lyor left, he said he got the pick of the litter to Irv Gotti, said do the deal. That's how that happened.
Okay, so is this the deal just for DMX or for Ruff Ryders as a whole?
Well, that was a Ruff Ryder deal with DMX. So, you know, it was through Ruff Ryders for DMX. It was a 7-album deal.
Okay, but what I'm saying is it wasn't like a label deal. It was just for this particular artist. It wasn't for a group of artists yet.
No, it was just for DMX.